I've just been delivered two very large
My
boxes.
catamaran Seahorse has 7 lead acid batteries, which are both old and heavy. These currently, one of them powers the windlass, 2 on the starboard power house and starting the starboard engine, and 2 on port power the navigation and autopilot and starting the port engine. The other 2 are backups for starting the engine, and both of those have failed. I'm looking to become less reliant on these batteries, just stripping them out and leaving just ones for starting the engines and switching to a modern system. So what am I looking for? I need at least 25 amps 12 volts to power my house, the navigation and autopilot. I need 24 volts DC to power a Starlink Mini, which doesn't run at all well on 12 volts DC. And then I need enough AC to power all of my appliances, maybe not all at the same time. My research started with Victron, the marine electronics supplier, and I was very impressed by what they offered, and I spent several evenings speccing out a full system using all of their distribution, wiring and monitoring, charging, inverter and DC to DC converters. Unfortunately, when I tried to map this into my existing system and the space on the boat, it was going to be both very difficult to install in the space and very expensive. So then I started looking at the other end of the spectrum. So I went on AliExpress and I looked at off-grid power systems, and those were quite a number of those, and some sealed lithium phosphate battery packs. Those were considerably cheaper, but they all had a number of problems, typically around the charging voltages. My limited space for my solar, I would need something that would charge less than 50 volts. A lot of these wouldn't start charging until you got to 150 volts from the solar. So that would be difficult to rig up that many solar panels on my small boat. So I then started looking at off-the-shelf battery banks, power stations from Buletti, Anchor, and a number of other manufacturers, and I came across the main limitation was the 12 volt, getting 12 volts out of them. I didn't want to run a DC to DC converter or an AC to DC converter off the inverter, because that would be very inefficient. I wanted a pure DC output, and to do that, most of them had a cigarette lighter socket which gave out 12 volts at 10 amps, which was not enough to power my house and navigation, and it also is not a very good connector. It's not a reliable connector, the 12 volt cigarette light socket. So the only one that I found was the Buletti AC300 with a B300K battery pack, and that met most of my requirements. So it has a 30 amp 12 volt RV connector, has a 24 volt cigarette lighter, which I'm going to dedicate to running my Starlink Mini, and it has 3 kilowatts of AC, peaking up to 6 kilowatts for a few seconds to help start air conditioners and water makers. So that's what I decided. I then started looking at where could I get one from. I contacted Buletti, but my subscription level is way too small on my channel to get a sponsored video to give me this equipment. So then I started looking at their refurbished site, and there they tend to do fairly good deals where you get about half price on an inverter module, and then the batteries that come with them are actually new batteries, and you can quite often get a inverter from Buletti and a new battery for less than the price of a new battery. So they didn't have any on their site that stayed there for very long. I always got there too late and they were just sold. So I then went to eBay and I found Buletti's eBay presence, where they sell their refurbished stuff on eBay, and there I found exactly what I was looking for: a B300, a B300K and an AC300. And I put an offer in, a low offer of about less than half the price of the new kit, and They didn't accept it. I upped it £100. They didn't accept it. I upped it another £100 and they accepted it. So I got a very good deal. A new B300K 3 kilowatt hour battery and an AC300 inverter DC solar controller.
I've just been delivered two very large boxes. So one has a B300K 3 kilowatt hour battery. The other has an AC300 3 kilowatt inverter. A bit bigger and heavier than I thought. So I'm going to unpack them, install them, and tell you all about them. This is the B300K battery. It's their new simplified battery that works with all of their power stations, and it has a simple on-off switch and a fan. I can hear a fan. A stated power. It's currently 80% charged, and it has one standard USB socket which is 12 watts, just not a high power for charging a phone. And that has on the side of it two battery connectors. So you can chain these batteries together. I think there are up to 4 batteries on the, and that plugs into my inverter. The inverter doesn't have a battery, it's just an inverter package. And I'm going to stack the inverter onto the battery. I've got to find a permanent place for this. It's sitting on my cabin seat at the moment. It also came with a battery interconnect cable with a very, very thick, very unflexible cable. So this is going to make it harder to sight the battery. To connect the inverter to the battery. Next, I'm going to unpack the inverter. So it's well packed. A box within a box. Okay, interesting. So it has a gift from the LEAF program, which is a project for helping African subsistence people have access to power. So, oh, very nice. So let's have a look. Oh, it's actually made of glass, and it's a nice little plaque. Oh, I won't store this on the boat, so we add extra weight. But it says, I've lit up an African family by buying this. Excellent. So that's rather nice. Let's go down to the next layer. So I'm going to take out this foam. And here is, gosh, that is large, a very large, with 2 wireless charging pads, a very large inverter. I'm going to have to turn the camera off to get this out. I need both arms. Let's do an initial smoke test to see how this works. I have the cable, and that plugs into one of 2 sockets on the side. So here we have a, sounds a bit. Okay, how do I do this? I need 2 hands again. Sorry, I'm gonna have to. Both cables are plugged in. This one is a 90 degrees to the other, which made it a bit easier. So I had to check that. And now we can turn it on for the first time. So if I press the on button, okay, maybe hold it down for a second. There we go. The batteries come on, and the inverters come on. There we go, and it's got 71% charge, and I can turn on the AC on. I can turn on the DC on, and now I can draw power from it. The little touch screen, everything's done through that. It also has app control. So it has 5 USBs, 100 watt USB-C, and 2 sets of two sets of 2 USB-As, all different wattages. It has 24 volt times 10 amps with a cigarette lighter socket, which will perfectly power my Starlink Mini. Starlink Minis don't really like running at 12 volts because of the drops on the cable. from the outside, but they'll run very well on 12 watts. And this uses 10 amps, so it can generate about 240 watts. So that should be plenty to drive a 65 watt Starlink Mini. The other one is a 30 amp 12 volt connector. I need to buy the socket for the plug for that, and that will charge my it will actually run all my boat electronics. So when I've got good solar, I can run the entire boat off this, including autopilot, lighting, my Raspberry Pis. And then if I want to do AC power, I'm going to get a connector which will connect this to an RV hookup, and then I can run all my power sockets from this as well. So very good. I've now got to work out how to install this and where to put it. It's a little bit larger than I thought it would be. Let me see if I can find it a home. I'm testing it with some loads. I have my Samsung S22 Pro charging on one of the wireless charging pads. I have my laptop connected to the 100 watt USB, my Mac charging, fast charging from the 100 watt, and I have a British mains plug plugged in to a micro heater giving out 500 watts of power. So let's see what the little screen says. So the screen says we have got, okay, very interesting. We got 9 watts of power going through the wireless charger and through the USB. So the laptop must be pretty much already charged. It's not taking much power. We've got 457 watts going to the micro heater, and it's giving off a nice little bit of background heat. And we've got no grid power and nothing coming in from solar. So excellent. I am happy, since I can now throw away the packaging. I don't need to ship it back. I'm just going to test charging it from the mains next. So to do that, I've got to find some cables, and I'll show you that working. I've connected the power lead to the side, and that has been plugged into a 240 volts main socket, which is plugged into shore power. And that is now charging the Buletti B300K battery at 1,129 watts, while simultaneously powering the my heating and charging my laptop and charging a phone at 456 watts and 11 watts for the DC. Yeah, excellent. So this all appears to be working. So I'm charging, I am charging my laptop, I'm running a heater, I'm charging a phone wirelessly, and the battery is showing that it's charging. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do this in one full cycle. I'm basically going to charge it up to full, then I'm going to discharge it to 0 just to check there's no problems with the battery. The battery is brand new. The inverter is refurbished. So this allowed me to buy basically the two of them for the price of a new battery. So it cost less than the price of a new battery to get a new battery and a 3 kilowatt inverter. So I was watching the Buletti website, and I went to Buletti refurbished, and I saw these offers popping up and disappearing. So if you Google Buletti refurbished, you'll find offers. And then I clicked through to eBay, and I bought it off Buletti on eBay. So they tend to sell a lot of their refurbished things on eBay. I spoke to them by email, messaging on eBay, and I asked them about the battery health, and they said yes, they ship the AC300 with a brand new B300K battery. So the main thing that has a lifespan on any sort of lithium power bank is the battery. So I get a fully refurbished system for the price of less than the price of a new battery, with a new battery and an inverter. And I can plug up to 3 other batteries in here. Now I've just got to find somewhere to install this securely on my boat. I've got a few ideas, and I will come back to that in a future video. So I'm going to be running this off this for the next few days, and I'll give you any feedback. And yeah, I think this is going to provide everything I need. So basically what I'm going to do is connect my starter batteries and my home. I've got basically 2 systems for my boat. I've got 2 engines, one in each pontoon of the catamaran, and I've got 2 94 amp hour batteries in parallel on each motor, and those are currently running house and navigation. So I'm going to dedicate those for starting the batteries and have the backup for house and navigation. I'm going to get house and navigation to this with a large 450-watt solar panel above my dinghy, and see how that goes. I'm also getting a fast charge setup, so I'm going to connect one of the motors alternator to a fast charge. I'm making the fast charge myself, so I'm buying a battery switch that detects when the battery is being charged and switches through 12 volts at a high ampage. And then I'm doing a DC to DC converter to convert the 12 volts up to 48 volts. So this Buletti AC300 charges much more efficiently at 48 volts than it does at 12 volts. So by doing that, and also I'll need smaller cables. So when my engine is running, it will detect that the battery is charging, and it will detect that it's got capacity, and it will switch on the switch to automatic switch to switch the power through to the DC-DC converter. And the DC-DC converter will take 12 volts, convert it to 48 volts, and connect it into one of my solar MTPP controllers. So this has got two MTPP controllers. So I can connect one to the solar panel and one to one of the engines. If I really want to charge this from engines only, if I'm in an area where the sun is very poor, I can put this setup on both my engines and connect one to each of the MTPP controllers. And doing that, I get about 500 watts without burning out my alternators. So that will allow me to charge it off the engines. I'll be able to charge it off solar, and I'll be able to charge it off shore power. And this should give me enough to run my computers and phones and lighting, and a little bit of power for the occasional sort of electric cooking and electric water heater if it's a sunny day. And run my Starlink, which I should be getting soon, and make me pretty much off-grid. I'm not planning to... I will also use it for charging my electric outboard. So to do that, I'm going to have to pretty much get it fully charged and then run it for like 10 hours. It's got a very slow charge rate, my electric outboard. You have to find a fast charger for it. So charge my electric outboard, charge devices and phones, run my Raspberry Pis. So this should be able to run my entire boat power system. And I'm keeping all the old systems back, so I've got battery isolation switch, so I can unplug this and switch on the battery isolation switch and still run everything off the two house bank systems, each with two 95 kilowatt hour, actually not 95 kilowatt, 95 amp hour lead acid batteries, which are connected directly to engines. I also have another battery that is connected to my windlass, so I'm going to make sure that that stays in the charging circuit. And I've got two other batteries which are backups for starting. Both of those batteries have failed. I'm going to buy two small, cheaper batteries for emergency starting if my house bank batteries fail. My 95 amp hour double pairs batteries fail to start the engine, so I have backups for the backups. Anyway, I will keep doing videos of this and show you how I get on.